Hey guys, we're back again with my restoration of my 1985 Bayliner Capri with a Volvo Penta AQ125B engine. So today I'm just going to cover a couple things that I missed in the last video. Um Starting with the things that I removed under the engine bay uh, long before I even thought I was going to start making YouTube videos. So I'm going to turn the camera around. We're going to check this out. Don't mind the mess in here, guys. This is a total overhaul project. So everything's eventually going to come out of here. But what I first did when I got this boat is I started stripping everything out. We covered that in the last video. This boat is a complete disaster right now. I started stripping stuff. The couple of the first things I stripped was underneath. I took out the entire bilge pump, the hose leading to the exterior, which there you can see the nipple where it connects to go outside the boat. I also, what you can see up under here, this is where the duct for the blower fan went to. I completely removed the blower fan. The bilge pump did not work at the time, but the blower fan did, but I decided to disconnect it anyway. A lot of this stuff had been just too weathered. It just wasn't worth it for me to keep any of this stuff. So eventually I'm gonna replace all of these items, bilge pump, blower fan, everything. But what I do want to say is, in terms of this engine, a couple things I did before I started recording. I want to get that out of the way. If you notice, all of the spark plug wires are laid out right here. I'm also going to eventually replace the wires, but I did label all of them with tape. This one here, the furthest back, indicating cylinder 1. Moving forward, cylinder 2, cylinder 3, and cylinder 4. The one wire that has no tape on it, that goes to the ignition coil. I did remove my new ignition coil that I stated I purchased in the last video. The ignition coil mounted back here. I indicated the purple wire right there with tape on the tip, and the black wire, or the white wire right there, with tape back a little further to indicate positive and negative. So when I go to hook this back up, it doesn't seem too difficult. What I am going to say is I'm going to continuously record for the time being. I'm still working on figuring out how to edit and stuff. I'm new at YouTube. So bear with me here. If I can't get the editing right, then it'll just be an extra long video. I hope that nobody gets bored. I know I do when I watch YouTube videos sometimes. But today what I'm going to do is I'm going to take off the intake manifold, as you can see right here. I am leaving the carburetor attached for the time being. I will dismantle it once I have it out of here. What I did do, though, to make this a little bit easier, I disconnected the throttle cable right here, as well as the fuel line right there. Throttle cable was a simple 13 millimeter. The fuel line was a 14 millimeter. But what I do want to state is everything that I've done so far, except for that fuel line, the 14 millimeter there, everything has either been a 10 millimeter or a 13 millimeter, to include everything with the cooling system and the exhaust manifold. These valve cover bolts, nuts here, were all 10 millimeter. Everything else was 13 millimeter and or 10 millimeter. So this is kind of simplistic. So what I'm going to get going on right now, I'm going to try to set the phone up somewhere where I can get a good angle on this. But I am going to start taking the, looks like 8 bolts, 2 for each cylinder. that are for the intake manifold here. I am going to leave that plastic bag on top of the valves just for the time being until I can get the head off. But that's what we're going to be working on now. So just bear with me. Hopefully, once I get this video done, I can get it into the editing app and figure out how to use it so it's not so boring for you guys. But like I said in the first video, I'm doing this because it was very hard to find any videos on an AQ125B, as you can see right there on my carburetor. This is a Volvo Penta AQ125B, and it's very hard to find any of these videos where it's a complete teardown of the engine on YouTube, so I figured I might do this to help someone else out. So just bear with me, guys. I'm new at this. Okay, guys, I just want to show here real quick. It was a little bit of pain to get that intake manifold off. But interestingly enough, while I was doing it, I found out, I'm going to come around here and show you that there were two bolts. This bolt right here, this bolt over here, they were actually 12 millimeter sockets instead of the 13 millimeter that the rest of these were. As you can see, these are studs coming out of the block, and these are bolts going into the block. These two over here did not have washers on them because there is this bracket right here that was there. So those two did not have washers on them. However, the remainder of them did, other than these two 12 millimeter bolts. As well as you can see, the gasket is pretty much shot. As a matter of fact, here is a piece of the gasket broke off. As well as this bolt right here was pretty seized. This bolt and this bolt, they did not want to come free. I actually had to spray some penetrating oil on them, which I needed this for another project, auto repair. I got this freeze-off super penetrant from AutoZone. They recommended this is better than PB Blaster, so just throwing that in there, throwing that in the video. That was for another project I needed. I just still had a little remainder left over. So the next part of this, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to stow away the intake manifold over where I have the remainder of the parts that I've already removed off of here. And then I'm going to get going removing the rest of this head. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to loosen the tension. Oh, around. I'm going to loosen the tension on these belts here. This belt here looks pretty simple. Again, guys, I am very new to tearing apart engines, so if anybody has any suggestions on what I should do, please leave them in the comments. But it looks like I can release the tension using the alternator for this belt here. This one, I think the tensioner is down here, pretty rusted. Gonna try to figure out how this works because it looks like the spring is pretty locked down here. But I hope maybe I can penetrate that bolt right there, loosen it up, and hopefully that's the tensioner. If it's not, I'm just going to figure out a way to wiggle this belt off for now until I can figure out how this gets tensioned. So I'm going to end the video now. Like I said, I'm going to try to put all these videos together in a big video for part 2. Hopefully I can figure out how to navigate this whole YouTube concept. So I'm just trying to help someone else out that may be working on the same type of engine. I've gotten a lot of information from other videos, but none of them that deal with Volvo Penta AQ125B engines. So this is all a learning curve for me. I'm just taking shit apart and hopefully figure it out. Alright guys, so I was able to get the belts off, and I'm going to show you what I did to do that. The alternator being the tensioner on the one belt was correct, but you not only had to loosen this bolt here, but you had to loosen this bolt and a bolt down here. Now this bolt was a 13 millimeter. However, this one here and this one down here were 17 millimeters. So just keep that in mind. This one up top was a 13 millimeter, but in order to get this thing to shift in either direction, this bolt here down here had to be loosened, as well as this bolt here, which are both 17 millimeter. As far as this belt here, I believe this is the timing belt, this thick one here with the grooves on it. Hopefully somebody in the comments can help me out here with this. Again, this is my first time with engines. But here was the tensioner for it. I loosened this bolt, which was also a 17 millimeter, and then this bolt in here, which had the spring attached to it. That bolt was not even like a size. I used an adjustable wrench on it. Hopefully you guys can see it there. It has no real head on it. It's just two-sided there. I used an adjustable wrench. Ultimately the spring popped out, but I want to do a complete refurb anyway, so I'm glad that it did, because I might want to pull that tensioner wheel off there and maybe wire wheel it. It is a bit rusted, if you guys can tell. Quite a lot of things on this engine are rusted. So my next part of this is, now that I have the belts off, I am going to take my plastic bag off the top of the head. I'm going to take all my valve cover nuts. I'm going to take them off, stow them somewhere safe. If anybody hadn't noticed what my goal thing with the nuts and bolts is, I put them back in their respective places, just so I don't forget where they go. So that's what I've been doing. I do have a few loose here in the boat, but I pretty much know where they go. More so like the exhaust manifold bolts, which are this big, by the way. These are all from the exhaust manifold. There are 8 of them, respectively, to 2 to each cylinder, as well as with the intake manifold bolts, nuts and washers. We already covered that, but there are 2 for each respective cylinder. So I'm gonna close it off for right now. Again, I'm gonna try my hardest to figure out how to put all these videos into one, so it'll be Bayliner Capri restoration part 2, or however I named that first video. So alright guys, when I get this head block taken off, the head taken off, I'll be back. Hey guys, since I took the plastic bag off, I just want to show you what my valves look like here. This was what was underneath the valve cover. Again, like I said, I watched a video on I believe it was a Mercruiser that had been gummed up by a lot of water in the engine, and the valves in that engine looked bad compared to this. So that's what gave me hope on this boat. So flip the camera, let you guys see. I do have a little rust on some of these here, but nothing too crazy. I think these 2 here are the worst ones. when it comes to rust. This one's a little bad, but I mean, that happened since I owned the boat. The first time I looked into this, when I took the lid off for the oil fill, it didn't look nearly as bad. So I know this rust is very fresh and new, so hopefully I can get that cleaned up a little bit. But I'm gonna take this head off. Hopefully this works out like I think it's going to. I'm gonna take these 2 bolts out here, 2 bolts out here, 2 bolts out here, 2 bolts out here, and then the 2 back here. I'm going to take all them out, and hopefully that head will come off. I'm hoping that I don't have to remove these gold colored bolts right here. Hopefully this all comes off in one unit, and that's what I'm hoping for. So I'm going to get going on that, and when I'm done, I'll explain what I did. Alright guys, thank you. Alright guys, so I got the head off, and to my surprise, I'm going to get a close-up of this. Hopefully somebody will watch this video and get me in the comments. But originally, when I had this boat running, I had very milky oil. I mean, I'll even pull the dipstick here just so you guys can see what I was dealing with. Okay, let's see here. It's a very milky oil, and my concern is that I had water mixing with the oil somehow. This boat did sit for about 2 years before I purchased it, so I don't know if that now has something to do with it. I don't even know if the fact that this dipstick, you know, is very loose in its holder. The screw mount was broke off when I purchased the boat, so I don't know if water's getting down in there somewhere, but I'm going to do a close-up of this head gasket here. This head gasket actually seems in very good condition for me not knowing anything about engines. But I'm going to get a close-up here, and I want you guys to take a look at each piston, and anybody who knows a little bit about engines, please get me in the comments. I know this cylinder right here, I think this is cylinder 3, has a little bit of water in it. But other than that, I mean, the head gasket seems in fairly good condition. It doesn't look like it's broken anywhere along the seams. So somebody get me in the comments. I am not going to do anything else with this engine until maybe I get some info in the comments from a gearhead or something like that. But I will tell you, the bolts, the head bolts, are 14 millimeter that I found out. I also needed to use a 1/2-inch drive breaker bar to get them out. So yeah, guys, I'm sweating a little bit. Starting to get warm out here. Yeah, so anybody, I'm gonna get these videos. Hopefully I know what I'm doing with editing, and hopefully somebody can hit me up in the comments as to what went wrong and why I have milky oil. I hope nobody tells me it's a cracked block, because I mean, the block itself looked in very good condition, unless it's an internal crack, and then in which case I don't know how to figure out. Again, I'm new with engines, but this head gasket seems pretty damn good condition. But I'm guessing anybody who knows anything about engines is going to tell me now that I've taken the head off, I probably should replace the gasket anyway. So yeah, I'm going to get these videos edited. Now that I have the head off, depending on what comes next, I might do a little more on the refurb. Eventually I'm going to kick out all of these boxes here. All of this wood's coming out. I'm just going to do a whole refurb. The fuel tank's going to come out. Everything. I'm going to strip it down to bare bones. Part of my goal is to even redo the dashboard with some more upgraded gauges and stuff like that. So obviously you can see here, to get the side panel off, I took the throttle apart, and I might even replace the whole thing. I noticed here yesterday that I have some frayed wires on the throttle cable, so I might have to do a whole rewiring job. But again, anybody with some gearhead knowledge, hit me up in the comments. Let me know what you think of this head gasket and what I should do. Alright guys, I'm going to be out for a while. I'm going to get all these videos edited and stuff, so hopefully I could figure out what I'm doing. Again, I'm very new to YouTube, so new to engines, new to YouTube, new to boats. So, alright guys.